Welcome to the Gary Abbott YouTube channel. If you don't know me, I make YouTube videos on 55 plus communities with an emphasis on the villages where I purchased the home. So I have made a number of videos on that. Budgeting for retirement, purchasing golf carts, activities in retirement, and many, many more. Almost 100 videos. So today I want to talk about the top 7 retirement stressors. These are stresses that come because you've got to make all of these decisions. There's no doubt I've experienced these, and I did have a health issue because of some of these. That's my belief. I'll talk about it at the end of the video, and I will give a recommendation so it will save you, hopefully, from having the same stress that I got, that I think affected my health. So with that, let's just start right with number 1. The number 1 stressor is financial. Big surprise here. I'm sure it is for many of you. Ensuring that you have enough money saved up for a well-planned retirement is a challenge. The fear of running out of money can be extremely stressful, really can. My tip, and I'm going to give a tip on each one of these. My tip is to do a well thought out spreadsheet that contains everything. Income, putting money aside, taxes, IRS taxes, everybody forgets about that. Food costs. A lot of people say they know their budget, but have you looked at food prices recently? So my tip is do a really well planned out spreadsheet. Now, I not only did one of these for myself, I offered it to my subscribers, could get one for free, or just watch my video and make one yourself right from the video. So I'll put the video up here. It doesn't look like a spreadsheet video. Can you retire? Well, this is a spreadsheet to tell you that, so you will have confidence in making the decision that you're financially ready. I'll make it available. You have to watch that video and follow the instructions in the description. So number 2, another one that's not a big surprise is healthcare. With rising medical costs and caring, long-term care, and those things that are going to come up in the future, as you hit retirement, you know, healthcare costs for people in the retirement ages, we all come up with issues. And it comes up with, you could have cancer, you could have a heart attack, you could have all kinds of issues that come up as you get older. So picking the right health care matters. And in retirement, you're going from the company plan in most cases to a plan that you have to pick. With that comes a lot of stress, because in healthcare, you've got Medicare Advantage, you've got Original Medicare, you've got Plans G, Plans N, drug plans. You get killed with all of this advertisements coming your way. This can be really stressful because many out there are not insurance experts. Neither was I. And I got hit with a lot of trying to pick and understand. And here's my tip. My tip for going through this process. Look at all the plans. Medicare Advantage, Plan G, Original Medicare. And my tip is really understand this. What's the doctor and hospital network? And number 2, what is the total out-of-pocket cost you could have in a year? That's really the big one. To me, you know at some point you're going to be hospitalized or come down with something. that you're going to need to have medical help. What is that going to impact your out-of-pocket costs? So understand all the plans. What doctors and hospitals can you go to? And what's the total out-of-pocket in a given calendar year you could be hit with? Know those things, you'll feel much more comfortable in your decisions. Also understand every year there's open enrollment, but doesn't mean you can change plans. This early decision can set the path for some people early on because there's no underwriting of your current health issues. If you have health issues, some of the plans might not take you later because you're too high a risk or cost too much. So your choices will be limited in the future. So this first round can be stressful if you understand you could be making a choice that you could do today, but if you pass on it, you can't get back in. So just understand that. But I think this is a very stressful item. Number 3, work life to retirement life. The transition from work can be very stressful. The act to retire is not an easy one or an insignificant decision. When to retire? Hopefully you looked at the budget number 1 that we talked about and set a date. Once you know when you can retire or financially retire or you need to retire, set the date. When to give your notice. You really need to think about these things. What to say when everyone says they want you to stay at work or continue work. The other part is some people feel losing their identity is tied to work. Maybe all your co-workers are your friends, maybe your colleagues. You have a big network. You can go through some changes here. This can be a stressful, just telling your boss that you're done can be a big thing. My tip, make sure you're ready. Don't jump the gun. Outline the plan. When you plan to give your notice, when you want to be done, and are you willing to do consulting? Are you willing to do some other things? A lot of people find themselves in this, but for how long? The more you make it clear with your employer what you want to do, the easier this transition is going to be. You don't want to keep having the stress of they think I'm continuing for another month and another month and another month. You don't want to do that. What really leads to keeping the stress down is for you to map out ahead of time and be prepared for these questions. Be prepared. Don't stay on longer than you really want to. I think this is something that many people who have watched my videos caution me, retire when you're ready to enjoy life in this new stage. And don't wait too long. You'll only be like in your 60s for a certain period of time. Then you'll be 70 and it's a big life change. Won't go into too much of that, but plan out the retirement with work. That is number 3. We're going to go on to number 4. Number 4, Social Security. I call this the mathematical nightmare. When do you retire? When do you collect? Do you collect at 62, 65, full retirement age, 70? Just to name a few. How much do I get? Are there penalties if I earn too much money in my early retirement and collecting? Sometimes it doesn't make sense. You've got to figure all this out. Use the Social Security website. It's great at estimating. If you put in a date that you think you're going to retire, it'll pump out a number. It's an estimate. I want to emphasize that because this is my tip. I went through this process. It said for me that I would get a pretty good jump if I waited till January. And here's what I want to tell you. I filled out the paperwork, put in January, and it was not that number. Now, whether it's a calculation on your full retirement age, there was some factors involved, and that was not the number. So if you're planning on that number, and then when they talk to you, it's not that number, ask this question. Here's my tip. Ask them why it's lower. How do you get to that real number? What is my retirement if I take it in January? What is my retirement number if I take it in February? Now, starting in January, you don't get your money till February. All of these things are complicated, but it's not very complicated when you file and you believe a certain number is the correct number. You can ask them for multiple months. What is the amount if I go this month, this month? This is something I would prepare for. Do not totally rely on the website and the number. I found it was different from me. I don't know how other people found it, but one of the things that I felt was really important was asking the question, how much is it if I retire now? How much is it if I do it next month, the month after, 2 months from now? If you go too far out, they'll say, oops, you'll have to refile, we'll have to come back, because they only do out a period of time. Number 5. This is kind of similar to the work life, but this is retirement lifestyle and the changes that come along with it. As you're retiring, you start to think about retirement. After I give that date, what's it going to be like? How's that transition from work life that we talked about to what's retirement look like? And what are you going to do? Are you going to golf, pickleball, tennis, stay at home, see the grandkids a lot more, see family, travel? Buy an RV, travel, see the world. Go on cruise ships. It's not a simple question. What are your hobbies? How much of the hobbies do you plan to do? I like to do this, and here's my tip. You sit down and you ask your wife or spouse this question. It's a simple question, and you tailor it that you don't want an answer immediately. You want some thought put into it. You'll meet tomorrow on it or whatever. What does retirement look like to you? And let's write down what it looks like to each of us. I may want to golf. She may want to do crafts and activities or hobbies. Where do you want to live? What's a great area? If you want to be by the beach, are we moving to the beach? Or are we near a beach? We want to both stay home and see the grandkids? Do we travel? I say this is it's stressful in the sense that each person is different. But if you're a couple, you need to really talk this out. I don't think it's a good idea to retire and not have talked this out, because you don't want one person thinking, hey, I'm doing this, and the other person's doing something else. Really thinking about what you're going to do in retirement. No more work. Have that conversation. Super, super helpful. Number 6. Family. Oh no, I hate to talk about family, but here we go. Do you want to be around the family? Grandkids? Do you have caregiving responsibilities? Many individuals find themselves in this caregiving responsibilities. They hit 60 and the parents are now needing help. Help around the house. Help getting food, or can't drive anymore. There's so many things that come in. And if you take on these responsibilities of caregiving, it's stressful. And it can be both physical, emotional, and financial on you if you start to get involved with some of these things. I'm not saying not do it. If you need to be a caregiver, you need to be a caregiver. But I think it fits with many of the things we've just talked about. Really understanding your situation as you hit retirement. And some of these things can be stressful, what you think will happen and what is reality. Maybe you want to be around the grandkids, but they live on the other side of the country. Are you going to move there? What are you going to do? Which is a perfect segue to number 7. Relocation and housing. deciding if you're going to downsize, deciding if you're going to move to be near the grandkids or your daughter or son. Are you going to stay at home? A lot of this can be stressful. And many people in retirement, the home is the biggest asset. And downsizing helps in retirement because you get some of that nest egg back and able to use that to help with your income through retirement. So downsizing happens a lot. There even is not just one move when you're retiring. You might move again in retirement. You may downsize again. You may make some of these choices. I know many people move multiple times in retirement. But these are things to look at and to make sure you understand what's going to happen. And they can be stressful. And I think you get it. All of these things can be stressful when you pile it up. Which leads me to the whole purpose of the video. A little over a year ago, I ended up with a heart attack. And a contributing factor was a number of these things we just talked about as stressful items all collided for me at once. Work pressure, family, caregiving was an item, financial. Clearly, the stock market took a dive. It's taken me a year to sit back and go, I know there's more to a heart attack than just stress, but stress, almost everyone who has one will tell you stress played a role 90% of the time. So for me, I'm telling you, it happened to me, put me in the hospital, set me back. I saw the light of the medical costs that can incur, even though I was still working, but it opened my eyes to a whole other area, and I needed to straighten some things out financially. So I did those things, but in looking back, here's my recommendation and kind of a solution that I recommend to you. I took too many things on at once. My recommendation is take these individual things that you've got to decide on, work on them independently, one at a time. Do not combine them all up. Do not get stressed about them. Take your time, make some decisions, move on to the next one. Do not do what I did and I took it all on at once and found myself feeling like way too overwhelmed. That's what you don't want to do. Me looking back in the mirror of more than a year ago, I would not do that. Now, I had a mild heart attack. I had a couple of stents put in. I've recovered. I take a lot more medications today than I took none before, and I take a lot of medications now. The medication, hey, you make those choices. Once you've had something like this, you got to live with some of the doctor recommendations. You can't be like, hey, I'm not going to have any pills or medications. No, I want to live as long as I want. I want to live as long as I can. And so I'm relaying that to you. This is kind of a personal thing. I did try to make this video a couple of times, and one time I got too emotional. I just couldn't do it. This time, I think enough time has gone by that I can just put it out there and say, be careful of these hidden stressors in retirement. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to many of you who live in the villages to see you in the villages. Stop me and say hi. I enjoy meeting everybody, and it's just nice to see people. Thanks for watching. You may want to look at, if I've done 100 videos on the villages and retirement and golf carts, you may be interested in those videos as well. Take a look. Thanks for watching again.